Hey all, Tom Moran here from Tom's Big Spiders. We're about to do rehousings for a couple of obscure species. Every once in a while, I like to pick something up that I haven't heard of before and kind of grow it up, and especially ones that you can't even find pictures of online. I find those particularly fun because you don't know what you're going to get. But anyway, for this round, we're going to be doing Katamiri Parvum and Crypsodromus species Black Amelia, two really cool dwarf species that you sometimes see around, but more often than not, it's hard to find information on because not a lot of people pick them up. So enough of me talking. Let's get into some rehousings with some husbandry notes. All right, so here we're going to have a rehousing with some husbandry notes for Crypsodromus species Black Amelia. I love this girl. I actually did a podcast on this one not that long back, and people asked me if I was going to do a video of it, so I figured I'd wait till the rehousing. Well, rehousing time is here, so what we'll do is do a rehousing while the dogs walk around and get some notes on this one. So the common name of this one is, the Black Amelia comes from the fact that it's supposed to have a black triangle on its carapace right up here. There we go, right in there. And they resemble the Brachypelma Amelia. So they call them Black Amelia because of that black triangle. Well, as you can see, mine does not have the black triangle. They are from both Costa Rica and Panama, so I'm not sure if there's a visual difference between species from the two places. I thought this was the Panamanian one, this one here, but I'm not sure. But gorgeous spider. I picked these guys up as little slings from Tanya at Fear Not Tarantula. This one up as a little sling from Tanya at Fear Not Tarantulas. And it did do some burrowing. I kept it in a dram with moist substrate to start out. It was a voracious eater, grew at a medium pace, took about, I think I got him in October 2017, and it took about 2 years for it to reach 3 inches or so. Right now it's probably close to 3.5 inches, or she is probably close to 3.5 inches as she's looking all coy there. But really good eaters, fast growers, and the nice thing about these guys is at about 1.5 inches or so, they were out in the open all of the time. They had abandoned the burrows and were more out in the open. However, as you can see with this one, right before its last molt, it did start burrowing again and kind of burrowed underneath this cork bark to molt. So we're going to give it here. I'll show what we've got going. This is one of the M design enclosures. It's about 5 by 6 by, I think, about 3.5 inches deep or so, but I use these for larger slings. And then this one here is about 7 by, I think, 11 by maybe 6.5, 7 inches tall or so. So good size enclosure. And this is supposedly a dwarf species. They get to be about 3.5 to 4 inches supposedly max. I say supposedly because they haven't really been around all that much, and I haven't been able to find anybody else that can tell me the max size of them. But this one here is 3.5, so I'm assuming she is a young adult. So what we are going to do is get her into her new enclosure. I'm almost thinking about just setting this one in and trying to prod her out. And we're going to give her a little poke in the bum. Have this ready just in case. And we got a threat posture. She's like, get that brush out of my bum. So let's get this out of here, and I'll just go ahead and cup her. I just told everybody how sweet you are. There we go. Off of there, off of there. There we go. And what we'll do is get her in here. Thought maybe we could poke and pray this one, but there we go. There we go. And she calmed down right away. If you can get that one in there. Gorgeous spider. The legs, there's almost pink hairs on the legs. It's like a, I don't know if it's coming out in the camera, but it's like grayish with pinkish hairs. And then there's like a washed out reddish brown to the, I don't know if it'll show up with the glare, to the carapace. I've told people they remind me almost as washed out. I hate to say it this way because it sounds like it's negative, but it's not. Like almost like faded out Bumbacaboculas. Almost said Maracacaboca, the old name. So let's see if we can get her out here. Here's a big brush coming your way. No, we're not fighting the brush. Whoop, there we go. So I'll get out of the way and let Billy catch some footage of her. As babies, I was feeding them the tiny nymph red runner roaches, and she was one of the ones that even as a little sling was taking the live prey, which was cool. Then we moved them to like medium red runners and medium crickets. Now she takes adult crickets, adult red runners. I'll throw in a media dubia every once in a while. I can turn this around for Billy to make it a little easier for him. I love when they put their little bums up in the air. But gorgeous species. Now this will probably be her adult enclosure. If she only gets 4 inches, this will be a good size for her, which is probably, what, about 2 gallons or so? I don't know what the dimensions are. I'll have to look it up. And as far as moisture is concerned, kept completely moist as a sling. I noticed as a juvenile, she didn't seem to prefer it as much, but I kept part of it moist. However, I will say that during her last molt, I moistened down part of the enclosure, the substrate in the enclosure. And what ended up happening is when she went to molt, she went right to the moist part to put down her molt mat. So I am going to continue to keep the substrate moist on the bottom. I mean, it is a Panamanian or Costa Rican species. And I have seen that, you know, again, if they seek out that moisture to molt, that means that the situation is such that the rest of the enclosure is probably too dry. So we're going to keep that moisture level up. So I would make it rain every once in a while, keep the lower levels of that enclosure moist. The top levels can dry up a bit. As far as fixings in this one, this is the BioDude substrate. This is not set up as a bioactive enclosure. Well, there'll be no plants in it. Then we have leaf litter and obviously some sphagnum moss and cork bark. And what I've been doing lately is building a little bit with the cork bark to kind of give them a choice of where they want to go. And right here is a starter burrow. So if she does want to burrow, she can go in there and start any burrow that she wants to construct right in that area there. I do like to give everybody a hide and a burrow, whether they're, you know, obligate burrowers or not, because if you don't give them a burrow, sometimes it takes them longer to settle in. So there we go. Crypsodromus species, Black Amelia. Gorgeous little girl. Glad I could finally get her on film and not just have the words of the podcast to talk about her. All right, continuing our rehousing of kind of obscure species. This is Catamiri Parvum. It's a Brazilian or Uruguayan species that I picked up, I believe, in October. Again, the same time, I think, as the Black Amelia that we just rehoused. And I got them from Fear Not Tarantulas because I was trying to get some obscure species. I love these guys. Unfortunately, the first two I had that I raised for slings turned out male, and this is one of them here. So we're going to try to get him on camera. There he is. You can see little teeny guy, probably about, what would you say, about 3 inches spread out. He's about 2 relaxed right there. Little dude. Unfortunately, the other one passed away. I wasn't able to get a female for him in time. However, recently, as the dog shakes off in the background, I can't help but acknowledge it. Like it's just part of the videos. Recently, I was trying to get a hold. I was upset because I thought the last one was going to be a female because it molted so much later than the other male I had. Obviously, turned out to be a male, but I got this beautiful lady here that hopefully, there she is. There is the female, who I believe should be an adult. Again, there's not a lot on the species at all. When I was looking up information on them, I was having a heck of a time. But supposedly the females only get to be, like, it's a dwarf species, only get to be about 3 inches or so. So what we're going to do now is put her in her new enclosure. This here I got from Fear Not, and it came with it, and she desperately needs a rehousing. It's just right after I got her, I fed her once, and then she went into pre-molt. So I waited until she molted. Now she's going into this one here that, again, is about 7 by 11 by maybe 7 deep or so. Pretty good size enclosure. Should be perfect for her. And the reason I'm putting her something in a little bit bigger is because eventually I want to introduce this guy over here to her and hope to get tiny little microscopic babies, because these guys start off as very teeny tiny slings. When I got mine, they were already kind of well started. So they were probably about, oh God, maybe less than 1/2 inch, or actually probably close to 1/3 of an inch or so. And I ended up putting them in the little deli cups, the souffle cups. And they did perfectly fine in those. They did burrow, and I did not see them much at all. This was a weird species in that they would burrow, and I wouldn't see them for quite a while, and they would come back up, and they'd be fatter. They would eat again, and then they would disappear again. And it seemed like they would fill up more on, like if I drop in a piece of dead roach, or a piece of mealworm, they would fill up quickly, go into pre-molt, and molt. So they grew rather fast overall. There we go. Touch your booty. Touch your booty. Nope, 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 touch your booty. Nope, 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 that's not what we want to do. That's not why we're touching the booty. I get her up and out. Easy girl. Here, just, nope, nope, nope. Nope. We call this the poke and pray, where you just kind of poke them and hope they go where they need to go. All right, I'm going to grab the hide out of here. There you go, girl. Sorry about that. I feel bad when they hide. I'm going to try to make this as painless as possible. So yeah, for folks looking to get them, just know they start off as very, very small. As you can see, if this is an adult female, this is not a big spider at all. And then they do grow rather quickly, but I will say this is one of the species that I constantly was like trying to look for signs to see if they're alive when they were smaller, because they bury themselves and they're so small they're hard to see. There you go, good girl. What a sweetheart. Oop. Okay, so I will get out of the way, let Billy work her magic as I yammer about. So there we are, C. parvum. I don't think there's a common name for them. It's one of those species that, again, hasn't been really very prominent in the hobby. So as far as moisture requirements, I did keep them moist as slings, and then as they got a little bit older, I continued to keep them moist, and they did seem to burrow a bit down to the moisture levels. Now, once it hit about 1.25 inches or so, that's when they kind of abandoned the burrowing, because it was to a point where we rarely ever saw them out, and I was starting to worry a couple times that they might have died because I hadn't seen them in so long. But every once in a while, they'd open up their dens, they'd come out, they'd feed, and then pop right back into their dens. But at that 1.25 inch spot or so, that's when they started actually staying out and about more, which is nice because they're cool looking spiders with some of those golds and browns. I can move the light so we can get a better shot of her. There we go. Oh, look at that. It's got a kind of golden appearance to it. But I do hope to breed these guys, get some more on the market, and hopefully, if I'm successful, get them out there. Some other people will try them out because there really isn't a lot on them as this one tries to escape. So there we go. C. parvum, which we're going to close this, and now don't put your hand there. I'll get her with the brush. Beautiful little girl who is going to go back in. Nope, nope. This is looking such like a big enclosure for her now. This is friendly as can be now. Awesome little spiders. Definitely check them out if you can find them, and hopefully within several months' time I'll have some slings on the market. If you don't hear about it again, it means it didn't go well. All right, so that went really well. Both have settled in since then and have eaten. The Amelia tends to be a bit more visible now. I think the Parvum is kind of still wandering around the cage trying to figure out which burrow it's going to use because it has 3 different possibilities, so I'm not seeing as much of it. But they seem comfortable, and hopefully once the Parvum settles in a bit, gets a couple more meals in her, we'll try introducing her to the male and see if we can get a bunch of little teeny tiny microscopic C. parvum babies, which should be a lot of fun. But again, I want to kind of get these guys out there on the market. I've had some people ask me about them, which is one of the reasons why I made this video. And quite frankly, I think they're really cool. And sometimes the dwarfs get overlooked because people getting into tarantulas are looking at the, the bigger is better slogan, where they're trying to find the biggest ones out there and they kind of skip over some of the little guys that can be really cool as well. So that will about do it for this one. As always, if you like the video and would like to subscribe, you can click the circle up there. If you want to check out some more beforehand to see if the rest of my stuff is any good, you can find it in here. I answer all my comments. It may take me a day or two to get back to people, but I am answering all comments. And if you have a question, you don't want anybody to see it, just pick an old video and post it on there. Nobody's going to see it except me because my little notification will come up and I can answer your question. All right, so that'll do it. Catch you guys all next time.